Welcome back, 𝚂ᅟᅟᅟᅟ here. I'm going to look into the Skywatcher's recent classification of 9 different UAP classes and sort of pick apart and digest how they've approached this thing because I'm trying to do the same thing as well. And it's an interesting sort of process they've done here with a bunch of additional information, and maybe we can learn a thing or two with this thing. But if you're new here, basically what I do is that I recreate the forms of UAP as closely as possible, and through that process I can learn specific things like how it foreshortens, if it's foreshortened correctly, how its lighting is simulated when I resimulate it, specifics in the materiality, specifics within the camera settings and how that warps it, and through all these sort of processes, I can sort of narrow down angles of hoaxery that they could be using, or if they are hoaxing, sort of call them out on specifics that when I notice them. So yeah, and then through this process, hopefully, maybe one of these things are a recreation of something that is non-human in technology. So that's pretty cool. And sort of this process of going through these things, of analyzing visual evidence, and not only that, I also go out of my way to interview witnesses of UAP and recreate the forms as closely as possible for multiple iterations. And that stuff is less public, but I'll put those out down the line. But anyway, so I want to jump into the first class here and relate it to what I know as well as potential different sightings. So the tetrahedron-shaped UAP. First up, I'll jump into that. So first up, tetrahedrons are a four-sided shape, and so all of these forms are accurately depicting these forms based on the visual images that's supplied. So tetrahedron shapes are four faces on a tetrahedron, but this is a six-sided tetrahedron. So that's not actually the correct definition that they've put here in terms of the form that is being represented within this shape. What they've actually represented here is a double-sided or dual-ended irregular tetrahedron. So tetrahedron on both sides, that it's a top heavy essentially. And the same thing kind of happens over here as well, where they talk about the bright star tetrahedron, where this is more like a double-ended tetrahedron as well. So not too sure about how accurate some of these form depictions are. As a bit of a critique on, I guess, their current approach on these visual representations, and I'm going to comment about that a bit later on as well. But basically, I want to talk about how this potentially relates to other things that I know about. So as I interviewed a bunch of other UAP witnesses, as I sort of dig through this thing, I talk to them and I ask them for specifics, and then I go through a bunch of different form changes and face amounts and how it's lit, and a whole bunch of specifics and a whole bunch of iterations. And I won't dive too far into that process, but another person has seen a black elongated dual-ended tetrahedron. And I'm sure there's many more, but I do know of at least specifically that classification does exist through these interviewing process. And yes, people can say, but who believes them, or whatever, but people are going to make that up on the internet. Okay, whatever, but I'm still going to go through this process and see there's a repetitive pattern. And so, and then another person I interviewed, so they put out a huge sort of like this quite big write down of their stuff, and I've been interviewing them private, and they talked about this form, and I've recreated that form in 3D, and I created a multiple variations. I've gone through this process of discussing this thing, and they talked about it. So the form that we ended up with, that as closely as possible, that matches their sighting, which was on a where's this? Wherever this is, I think it's Ontario. Yeah, Ontario Lake. And so they saw this sort of rusted colored diamond. So this is like a tetrahedron diamond, dual-ended, blah blah blah, UAP. So it's not exactly the same color, but it's similar form. And column B is the one that they saw. And column B is the form that we are currently discussing, except it's a sort of a regular form. It's a regular form, dual-ended tetrahedron. So that's another circumstance of another time that I've seen something similar. Yeah. And then let's jump over to the next one, I guess. And there's not too much else to say about the tetrahedron one, but it's weird that they wrote down that it says it appears in groups of 3 to 20 when sometimes they seem to appear individually as well. So maybe they are having. I don't know what to make of that. And then also the forms that is depicted here. Um, it it's a tetra class, so that might be multi subcategorized class of like different slight alterations of a tetrahedron form. Like it could just be a tetrahedron with four faces, or dual-ended six faces, or irregular or regular, or whatever. But I guess they just kind of all put that on the tetra class. But maybe there's another category on that potentially. And then looking at the sort of visual evidence they provide of the tetrahedron, and it's confusing because sometimes they don't really label what they're seeing in the video, what class they're seeing in the video, but sometimes it seems like it's a bit like a elongated diamond shape. So I guess it is potentially dual-ended. Anyway, tic tac. We all know that, I guess, or a lot of people know that. But specifically in the way that it depicted it within this image, it seems to be elongated on both sides rather than a spherical form or perfect spherical form on both sides of this tic tac. So I've gone ahead and done that. And if it was just a spherical form and that's what they have to or prefer or have actually seen, then it would stop around here. But otherwise, these are sort of forms that have been elongated 1.5 times of 1.5 scale, I guess, instead. This way and that way, I guess. Not too much to say about this one, but it was interesting as well, actually, to say that it's either groups of 1 to 3, and we've also heard that before, pairing 1 to 3, or not really specifically just 1 to 3, it's just like a couple of them, essentially, more than one tic tac. And then also it says it observed with a manta ray in proximity. And I'll jump over to the manta ray real quick. And manta ray is kind of like an elongated tic tac in a way, in terms of its central form that is that they showed. And this is the one that I do know that they've created a 3D model based on their form. And I wonder what the process is that they did when going through that. That would be interesting to know about. Yeah, and then so I love that they created a 3D model of this thing, but just a quick critique, and I'm going to be doing a lot of like offshoot conversations for a lot of these things, just to sort of get my mind out about this. But I don't know the sort of exact methods that they're using for these form depictions, and this is a professional organization that is they have a lot of money, they have the good equipment, they got helicopters and whatever, but the visual representations of these forms are maybe leaning too much to the artistic side, or I really hope they aren't using AI or anything like that to depict these forms. Like I guess if you shot through the definitions of you generate a tetrahedron shape, whatever, it might spit out a diamond, and they don't actually know about the specifics of the tetrahedrons are not this diamond shaped thing. But it does seem to be sort of diamond-like in the video, but I don't really know. But I hope that's not the case, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But I just want to throw that out there. Let's hope that they are doing that. And if they are, consider replacing it with full art. And if you want full art, feel free to reach out because that's all I do. Yeah. So if I keep moving on, so next is the blob class UAP. And the definitions that they put for that one, Orb-shaped UAP that exhibits pulsating internal light, horizontal oscillations, erratic point-to-point movement capable of extreme speed and rapid flare-driven expansion. Observed exclusively as singletons, which is a funny word. Red cloud-like orb with pulsating light-bodied core. So with this sort of description here, the closest thing that I do know about when interviewing another witness where they saw a UAP for 20 minutes, and this is a close-up version of it, and they would probably see it a lot further back, like it's a very difficult to make out the form. But basically, they to summarize the story, and I'll come up with the full story if you're interested. That they saw this UAP for 20 minutes. Someone else also saw it at another time. The other person is dead, unfortunately, has died. But they gave a description, and I went through multiple different iterations, and this is the form that closely matched it. And I'm going to talk about how it potentially relates to this form, I guess. So they talk about like an internal light structure, which you can kind of see like depicted within this thing. And this one also seemed to have like an internal spherical structure as well. And I've been kind of like also sort of struggling to find proper classification for this thing right now. And it does kind of seem like some things that I've seen before, but it the description of this being exclusively like red, and I don't know how many times I've seen this as well, but this one's obviously not red except for the edges of it. Um, but this is blue with it like a white internal sphere, glowing sphere to it as well. And the old additional descriptions, because this is just a work in progress, sort of back and forth discussion with this witness. They saw like. Which I'll refine basically, but they saw like a bunch of like green, blue, yellow, red, or something like that. Additional ball-like light structures on the bottom half of this thing moving and around. And then they had like spiked, red spike things that protruded from this spherical object as well. So it did seem to be like a a physical like physical round surface with an internal light structure that could be seen. And I guess that's kind of getting close here as well. But this one, interestingly, has like I guess like a weird blobby surface to it. I guess it's called the blob. So um, I would like to know more about this thing, and maybe that can help me classify some of these things a bit better as well. But um, yeah, anyway, so that's the only thing I could really find in relation to that. And then the next one was the beam, and the beam one is like IR only, like infrared only orb shaped UAP. Um, and I feel like I've heard that one, like IR only kind of stuff before. But and we know of orb shaped UAP. Uh, I mean that's like so many videos, I guess, but um, so many videos that depict apparent orb-shaped UAP, and it's a give or take, which if it's just a mundane explanation for some of those, but it's specifically infrared only. Now that's very anomalous. And well, I don't have too much to say of it. I basically just want to show the form really, and it's similar. Sort of the mesh is exactly the same as the previous one, but I guess it's smaller and um, white and IR only. And I do wonder, as they sort of release additional information based on, um, I guess the other sensor stuff that is coming out, other descriptions and other categoristics, um, if and how they are differentiated within the full reports. I'll be curious too. And they do talk about some of these classifications might be being one of the same or similar, like offshoots or tweaking has to be done because this is all sort of like preliminary classification of these things. So I'm interested to see how that involves. Yeah, so let's move on. The manta ray. Let's go to that. So manta ray UAP. I think I want to talk about a bit of a community analysis, I guess, of the UFO community, and how people have reacted to both the naming conventions of specific things has been is a bit weird, I guess. I want to talk about it. So um, basically, as soon as you see something with just like manta ray UAP, it's like, oh my god, what is this community? What are we doing? What is this Bigfoot? What is this, a game? What is it, like, whatever? So and hopefully we can get more additional information. But I'm just sort of like giving like a dramatization of, I guess, the reaction of like maybe gut reactions from naming conventions of specific things. But if we really just talk about the form and forget about the name, let's say this didn't have a name, it would be just like ovoid, wing structured black UAP. It's like, okay, you wouldn't get much of a reaction from that. And the same thing kind of happened with like egg egg UAP. Um, so much humor got kind of slung its way. Jokes were made of it, and the whole sort of discussion from the actual topic itself strayed away. And instead of talking about the uh, egg-shaped UAP, it became sort of a humor fest, really. And I kind of want to just discuss both of these sort of community based uh, topics of these things in conjunction, because once again, this is just an oval. If we talk about what an egg-shaped UAP is, it's just an elongated oval. Um, it's just an ovoid shape, really. And there's also reasons why nature uh, has eggs designed the way that they are. And it's like eggs can come in all shapes and sizes, and I'll jump into some of the specifics with that in that later. But the reasons why eggs are shaped the way they are is because when you have a bottom-heavy object that is balancing within like an egg shape in a nest or whatever, this bottom heavy structure lets it balance better and sort of wobble um, to a resting point. And that's the reason that it's beneficially designed the way it's designed. Like, I don't know why this is designed the way it's designed, but I thought I'd share that comment as well. But comparing these two, these structures, the only thing that I can really find in relation to this is like um, aerodynamics, but it's like I don't think it even matters with aerodynamics in terms of its design. And this is more just sort of like a thinking about like why are these things the shape that they are? If you have something that's like floating and it doesn't need propulsion and it's doing its thing and whatever, why does it need to have these sort of structures based off yeah, why does it have to have wing-like structures? And we're thinking in human terms now because we don't even have to like these things could potentially not even be like wings, and they could serve an entirely alternative purpose. But we associate it and categorize them as these specific things, like egg, like wings, like whatever. And we can't actually know the sort of purpose for these things. And when you have like a form that um, it does not matter what those forms do, potentially, really, like, because you're just floating around in space. It's difficult to know their functionality, really. Um, so I thought I'd just put up a mirror, I guess, a bit into myself and potentially the community in terms of how we look at these things. But anyway, I want to talk about sightings of specifically the manta ray UAP. And I'm going to show a quick video here. Um, so I'm not going to say specifically where this is because anytime anyone tries to talk about this thing, it kind of gets removed. That's not a joke. And I'll place a comment about it of my previous looking into this because it's just a bit weird. But anyway, a video that came out from this thing of a teardrop shaped UAP shows something that does kind of seem like a similar sort of form depiction of something that could be sort of manta ray like or whatever. They described this one as a teardrop, and a lot of evidence, visual evidence that came out of this event specifically, is potentially fake, but some of it might be potentially real. And a lot of the community interviews and other stuff, it's still very compelling and interesting. So it's hard to sort of sift through which is which. But as I currently know, this is a similar kind of form to the manta ray UAP. And reading the sort of classification of this thing real quick, I don't think it's too common. Yeah, rarely seen. Observed in proximity with tic tacs. Yeah, because this is also kind of like somewhat tic tac shape as well. Um, let's get to the tic tac. Yeah, somewhat tic tac shape as well. Jump through the forms. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. And then if I jump to the next one now, let's go to Bright Star. Another funny name convention, which I'm sure people might think, what are we playing a game or something? um, it's obviously that they want to have fun kind of naming these things, and I think that's fine, honestly. But I expect the community to have their own sort of mind. But anyway, um, same with um, the tetra yeah, the tetra. It has like indented sort of features on it, um, seemingly as it shows here. Bit hard to see that. I'll just zoom in. So yeah, has these sort of indented forms, and so I've sort of carried that over as well because it does this sort of same thing over here as well. Um, and let's get back there. Okay, yeah. So I haven't seen this thing too much as well. And once again, this is not just a tetrahedron; it's a dual-ended tetrahedron. So I'm not too sure if I can comment on this. I've seen like videos of things that potentially might be kind of like this thing, but and I've interviewed some people that have seen things that aren't tetrahedrons but display very much similar properties to the bright star. Um, but yeah, like this sort of like flashing of different colors within the light spectrum. Um, yeah, they sound beautiful though, and I think this captures the beauty of it, but I don't know if it properly might capture the form of it. And I feel like even if you saw it on like a video, it might just like absolutely blow out the values anyway. So I don't even know how you would do that. So maybe it's okay, but yeah. Let's keep moving on. The jellyfish UAP, and I'm going to talk about this in tandem with the Hornet one as well shortly. But the jellyfish UAP, I think this is too much of a stylized depiction, and we've seen these forms before with the Corbell video. The worst still ever that I could have grabbed, but you know what I'm talking about, hopefully. But the sort of depiction that they put up here, it has like 10 tentacles, I guess. But they really are pushing down on the fact that it's like a dome structure. And um, the behavior of it's quite interesting. So, jellyfish-shaped UAP with seeking head motion and trailing tentacles exhibits a localized area of effect on electronics, independent of specific targeting or interactions with the sensor. White jellyfish-shaped craft with a bulbous head and trailing tentacle-like appendages. So that's pretty interesting. And if we look at sort of like the descriptions based on this one and eyewitnesses of it, they talk about how the tentacle structures of this thing are seemingly like scaled like samurai armor. And they're talking about like this sort of layering of like plates, really. Um, and like it's too far away in the videos to even see what they're talking about. Like it's like pixels, but and I guess in this video I'll do an analysis down the line. But um, and I don't think we've ever seen any sort of videos of the tentacles of these things being this abundant. It seems like it's mostly like up to 4, 6, or whatever. I haven't really seen, or I haven't even seen 6 or whatever. But it doesn't seem this abundant, really. But they're really pushing for this dome structure still. So that's my really thoughts about it so far at this point. Specifically white as well. That's quite interesting. So I do wonder if this might be a white thing or what really. It talked about it appearing only in the IR sensor. I don't know what to make of that until I look into it further. But anyway, let's keep moving on because I want to talk about the Hornet UAP and a multi a dual body UAP with hanging tendrils and asynchronous rotation. Multi-part UAP with purple, red, blue, and black coloration. Features a prominent tail-like fold into a prominent tail that folds into a ball or extends into a stinger-like formation. I can't read. The upper segment contains hanging tendrils, which within which a secondary body appears to rest. Reflective flashes observed during flight. Damn, that was a battle to read for some reason. But anyway, I want to talk about this form depiction here that I've done based on that image and the supplied. And um, so this seemingly is like a temporary structure, I assume. And the reasons why I say that is because just before the previous case I looked into, the Yukon 2023 UAP apparently had sort of like structures or strings that came off of this thing, and then a sort of secondary package or whatever below it. And that's one of the reasons they apparently shut it down because they're worried that it carried some sort of payload. And that's sort of representative of the form that they're seeing here as well. So it does make me think that because this image here clearly doesn't show tendrils coming off of this thing. So it does make me think that these are temporary structures that can um, disjoint from each other, really. Um, and sometimes you can end up with individual forms really. So I don't know what these things are, if they actually physically come out or the material itself changes. So I don't know what that's about. And then also what are these things? Like why do they come out? What's the point of them if they're just sort of additional hanging structures that go through this thing? Um Unless this is like I don't know, like it merges through this object like we've heard about like with certain materials seemingly like extending or moving through things with no sort of like understandable way, like not even telescopically moving up and down, but like physically moving through a surface, like Bob Lazar's, like for example, yeah, whatever. But the central pillar, where you can like connect the thing to the core, and I'm actually looking into that, so I'll discuss that more in the future. But yeah, anyway, that I don't really know what to make of that. This sort of these tendril-like things. And I guess it could be similar behavior to what is appearing within these ones, and hopefully we can learn more um, within these sort of like additional tendril things. Like, I wonder what the behavior is that. Um, yeah, to be found out in the full report. Anyway, and then last one is the egg. So if I jump over that now, so this is the depiction of the egg that they've done, recreated in 3D, and I want to compare that to the form recreation where I tried to accurately represent the forms that were shown in Jake Barber's UAP video, and then taking a bunch of um, steals from that, and then that show the most amount of form, and then comparing all of them, and then this is the form that represents the egg as close as I could, based on the video evidence provided. So the actual forms between these two things are quite different. And you can see that the curvature of these things jump around a bit, and it's because they talked about later in this thing. Let's search egg. So they talked about how this specific part of the video, which is just absolute the best quality ever. No, but that this is sort of the one time that they managed to see it, and they described it as off-white egg-shaped egg-shaped UAP. And previously, when they discussed this UAP, it seemed to be more, when they talked about it, they talked about it being iridescent in nature. And if you sort of zoom out of what an iridescent egg far away might look like, it might look white or off-white, and especially in daytime. I assume that it could appear to be off-white or white. And double that with far away, it would make sense that they would label it. But I think it's still possible that this could actually be iridescent, as previously described, and seemingly more than once described, according to some other sources. So yeah, I think that might be it. My computer's screaming because I'm running low on space, so I think that's a good time to wrap this thing up. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be continuously looking into more of these UAP cases. I've been doing a ton of stuff in the background. I've been interviewing many different witnesses of UAP as well. If you've witnessed a UAP, feel free to reach out. Email at the end of this video. If you have any other reasons to contact me as well, in terms of UAP recreation, research, and whatever, you can contact me by my email or Reddit or whatever. But this has been fun. I'll keep doing this process, and I'll see you guys next time.